Before we go deeper, a quick message. If this video feels relevant to you, subscribe to the channel. And if you know someone who might need to hear this conversation, share it with them. That small action helps this content reach more people and keeps the channel growing with meaningful English lessons. Now, let's talk about something very common but rarely explained clearly: the feeling of being stuck. When people say, "I feel stuck," they usually don't mean that something terrible happened. Most of the time, life is moving, things are happening, but inside there's a sense of pause, a sense that something is not aligned anymore.
Feeling stuck often appears quietly. There is no clear beginning. One day feels similar to the next. You wake up, follow your routine, do what is expected, and go to sleep. And nothing is wrong enough to complain about. That's why this feeling is confusing. You may think, "I should be grateful," and yet there is discomfort.
Yes, and that confusion creates silence. People don't talk about it because they feel guilty for feeling dissatisfied. They look at their life and say, "I have no reason to feel this way." But emotions don't work like logic. You don't need a dramatic problem to feel disconnected from your own life.
Feeling stuck is often not about external circumstances. It's about internal distance. Distance between what you are doing and what you actually care about. Distance between your actions and your values. And the longer that distance exists, the heavier it feels.
One of the main reasons people feel stuck is routine without reflection. Routine can be helpful. It gives stability. It saves energy. But when routine continues for too long without checking in with yourself, it becomes mechanical. You start living automatically. You stop asking questions like, "Is this still working for me?" Or, "Is this how I want my days to feel?" When those questions disappear, you may feel safe, but not alive. Safe, but disconnected. And over time, that lack of emotional engagement turns into exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion, but mental and emotional tiredness.
And many people mislabel that exhaustion as laziness. They say, "I have no motivation anymore," and assume something is wrong with them. But usually, it's not a lack of motivation, it's a lack of meaning. Motivation cannot survive for long when actions feel empty. When you keep doing things that don't feel meaningful, your mind protects itself by shutting down emotionally. That's when people say they feel numb, not sad, not happy, just flat. That numbness is not a failure, it's a signal.
Another important aspect is fear. Under the feeling of being stuck, there is often fear of change. Change doesn't have to be dramatic to be scary. Even small changes create uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. So instead of moving, they freeze. Staying stuck can feel safer than trying something new and possibly failing. At least in the familiar situation, you know what to expect. Even if it doesn't feel good, it feels known. And the human brain prefers known discomfort over unknown possibility.
There is also social pressure. People feel they must have clear goals, clear dreams, and a clear plan. When they don't, they feel behind. But real life is rarely clear. Many people move forward without certainty. Clarity often comes after action, not before. Waiting to feel ready is one of the biggest traps. Readiness is not something that appears suddenly, it grows from movement. Small movement creates information. Information creates confidence.
This is also an excellent moment to practice simple, natural English, because these are conversations people actually have in real life. You don't need advanced vocabulary to express the state. Simple sentences are enough. For example, "I feel stuck lately." "I don't feel motivated anymore." "I feel disconnected from my routine." "I'm not unhappy, but I'm not excited either." These sentences are clear, honest, and very natural in everyday English.
And notice something important. None of these sentences are dramatic. They describe internal states calmly. Learning how to express emotions simply is part of emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is a big part of real communication, not just language learning.
Many people think the solution is a big change, a new job, a new city, a new version of themselves. But big changes require energy, and when you feel stuck, your energy is already low. That's why extreme solutions often fail. Instead of asking, what big change do I need? A better question is, what small movement can I tolerate right now? Not enjoy, tolerate.
That might be a small habit, a small conversation, a small adjustment to your routine, something that creates movement without overwhelming you. Movement is what breaks stagnation, not motivation, not inspiration. Movement.
Before action comes awareness. Awareness means observing without judging. Notice what drains you. Notice what feels heavy. Notice what you avoid thinking about. You don't need to fix anything yet. Awareness alone already creates a shift. And this is where we'll continue in the next part. We'll talk about very small, realistic actions that help create movement again, without pressure, without dramatic life changes. Before we continue, a quick reminder. If this content is helping you reflect or improve your English, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might need it. That support helps this channel grow and continue offering meaningful conversations like this one. Now, let's move deeper into what actually creates movement when you feel stuck. In the previous part, we talked about awareness. Awareness is the moment you stop and notice what is happening inside you without judging yourself. But awareness alone is not the end. Awareness opens the door. What really changes things is what comes next. Small, intentional actions.
The problem is that many people misunderstand action. They think action means something big, visible, and impressive. They imagine motivation first, energy first, confidence first, and when they don't feel those things, they do nothing. But real change usually starts when motivation is low, not when it is high.
That's an important point. People wait to feel inspired, but inspiration is unreliable. It comes and goes. If you wait for motivation, you may stay stuck for a long time. Instead, movement creates motivation, not the opposite. Think about it this way. When something feels heavy or overwhelming, your brain wants safety. Big plans feel unsafe. Small actions feel manageable, and manageable actions are the ones that actually get done. When people feel stuck, they don't need a complete life transformation. They need proof that movement is possible again.
Let's talk about what small movement really looks like. Small movement does not mean easy, but it does mean possible. It is something you can do even on a low energy day. For example, instead of saying, I need to change my whole routine, you might say, I will change one part of my morning. That could mean waking up 10 minutes earlier, or not checking your phone immediately, or simply asking yourself one honest question at the start of the day. These actions may sound insignificant, but they send an important message to your brain. I am not trapped.
And that message matters. Feeling stuck is often connected to feeling powerless. When you take a small action by choice, you regain a sense of control. Control builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. This is especially important when we talk about emotional habits. Many people are stuck not because of external problems, but because of internal patterns. Patterns like avoiding discomfort, avoiding silence, or avoiding difficult emotions.
Avoidance is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. When something feels uncomfortable, the natural reaction is to escape. You distract yourself, you stay busy, you scroll, you talk about anything except what really matters. And in the short term, that works. You feel relief. But long-term avoidance creates stagnation. The problem doesn't disappear, it just waits quietly. Small action can be as simple as sitting with a feeling for 1 minute instead of escaping it. That is action. Writing one honest sentence in a notebook. That is action. Saying one truthful sentence to someone you trust. That is action.
And notice how these actions are emotional, not dramatic. They don't change your life overnight, but they change your relationship with yourself. And that relationship affects everything else. When people say they feel stuck, what they often mean is, I am not listening to myself anymore. Small actions are a way to start listening again.
This is where emotional intelligence becomes very important. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling emotions, it's about understanding them. And understanding begins with language. Learning how to name what you feel gives you clarity. Instead of saying, I don't know what's wrong, you might say, I feel bored, or I feel disconnected, or I feel afraid of making the wrong decision. Those words create direction.
And this is excellent English practice too, because native speakers often talk about emotions in simple, direct ways. You don't need poetic language, you need accurate language. For example, I feel unsure about my next step. I feel mentally tired. I feel afraid of wasting time. I feel pressure to have everything figured out. These sentences are natural and commonly used.
Another reason people feel stuck is comparison. Comparing your life to others creates unrealistic timelines. You see people online who seem to have clarity, success, and purpose, and you feel behind. But comparison removes context. You don't see their confusion, their mistakes, or their doubts. You only see the edited version. Small action here could be limiting how much comparison you allow. Not eliminating it completely, but noticing when it affects your mood and stepping back.
Comparison also increases pressure. Pressure kills curiosity, and curiosity is essential for growth. When you feel pressured to have the right path, you stop exploring. Small steps reopen curiosity. They allow experimentation without commitment. You're not choosing your future forever, you're just testing the next step.
It's also important to talk about patience. Movement takes time. Feeling unstuck does not happen in one day. It happens gradually, often in ways you don't notice at first. You might not wake up feeling inspired, but you might notice you feel slightly less heavy, slightly more present, slightly more interested in your day. Those are signs of movement.
And movement doesn't have to be visible to others. It doesn't need to be announced. Quiet changes are often the most stable ones. This is especially relevant for language learning. Progress in English often feels invisible until suddenly it's not. You understand a sentence without translating. You express a feeling more easily. That's movement.
If you're listening to this, here's a small reflection you can try right now. Ask yourself, what feels heavy in my life right now? And then ask, what is one small action that would make this feel 5% lighter? Not 50%, 5%. That question changes everything.
Because 5% is doable, and doable actions get done. And when actions get done, identity starts to shift. You stop seeing yourself as stuck. You start seeing yourself as someone who moves, even slowly.
In the next part, we'll talk about how to keep this movement going, how to avoid falling back into autopilot, and how to build habits that support clarity instead of draining energy.
Before we go deeper, a quick note. If this conversation is helping you reflect or see your life more clearly, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might need it. That simple action helps this content reach more people and allows the channel to keep growing. Now, let's talk about something that often happens after people start making small changes. Many people begin to move forward, but after a few days or weeks, they slowly return to autopilot. Not because they failed, but because habits are powerful, and without awareness, habits quietly take control again. Feeling stuck often comes back when life becomes automatic.
Autopilot feels comfortable, but it also disconnects you from yourself. You wake up, do what you always do, react the same way, think the same thoughts. Nothing feels wrong enough to change, but nothing feels right enough to grow. This is why many people say, I'm fine, but I'm not happy. Autopilot creates emotional numbness. You function, but you don't feel alive.
Breaking autopilot does not require dramatic decisions. It requires presence. Presence means noticing your reactions instead of being controlled by them. It means pausing before you say yes. It means asking yourself, why am I doing this, instead of just doing it? Small moments of presence interrupt automatic patterns.
And this is uncomfortable at first. Autopilot protects you from discomfort. Presence brings awareness, and awareness can feel heavy. But that discomfort is not a problem, it's information. When you feel uncomfortable after becoming more aware, it usually means you're seeing something you avoided before.
This is where emotional responsibility becomes important. Emotional responsibility does not mean blaming yourself. It means accepting that your reactions belong to you. You may not control what happens to you, but you do influence how you respond. Many people feel stuck because they give their emotional power to situations or people. They wait for something external to change before allowing themselves to move forward.
And waiting creates stagnation. When your progress depends on someone else changing, you stay frozen. Emotional responsibility sounds like this. I don't like this situation, but I can choose how I deal with it. I feel uncomfortable, but I can sit with this feeling. I don't have clarity yet, but I can still take small steps. That mindset creates inner stability.
Let's talk about habits that support clarity. Clarity does not come from thinking more. Most people already think too much. Clarity comes from space. Space to feel, space to reflect, space to hear your own thoughts without noise. One powerful habit is creating moments of silence in your day. Not long moments, even 5 minutes without your phone, without music, without distraction. Silence shows you what's really happening inside.
At first, silence feels uncomfortable. Your mind gets loud, thoughts appear, feelings surface. That's normal. Most people avoid silence because they don't like what comes up. But what comes up is exactly what needs attention. Avoiding silence often means avoiding yourself.
Another habit that helps is emotional check-ins. Once or twice a day, ask yourself simple questions. How do I feel right now? What is draining my energy? What is giving me energy? You don't need to fix anything immediately. Naming is enough. Emotional awareness reduces emotional pressure.
This is also excellent English practice. These questions use simple vocabulary, but express deep meaning, and they help you connect language with real emotions, which makes learning more natural and memorable.
Let's also talk about expectations. Many people feel stuck because they expect clarity before action, but clarity usually comes after action. You move first, and understanding follows. Waiting to feel ready keeps you waiting forever.
Readiness is often a feeling we imagine, not a real state. Most people who make meaningful changes don't feel ready. They feel uncertain, but they move anyway. They choose progress over comfort.
It's important to accept that confusion is part of growth. Confusion does not mean you are lost. It often means you are in transition. Being in transition feels unstable, but it is also a sign of movement.
And movement is always better than stagnation, even if it's slow. Feeling stuck is not a permanent condition, it's a message asking for attention, honesty, and small changes.
If you take one idea from this entire conversation, let it be this. You don't need to change your whole life. You need to change how you relate to yourself. Small actions, presence, emotional responsibility, patience. These are not dramatic ideas, but they are powerful ones.
And when you practice them consistently, even quietly, you begin to notice something important. Life starts responding differently. Not because everything changes, but because you change. And that changes everything.